I'm gonna set. Here I am today with my partner in crime, my best friends, mindset coach of the HA community, personal trainer, podcaster, and mom of one and mom to be of the second one, Jade Cameron. And I am so excited that you're here today because we're gonna discuss something that is pretty amazing, and you can really help women with the conversations that we're going to have today. And I know that you're a master when it comes to mindset and shaping the way that we talk to ourselves and the narrative. But anyway, the topic of today is going to be you are one thought away from a baby. So welcome, Jade. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm happy to be here, and I'm kind of containing my excitement about this conversation because I feel like I'm even more passionate than what I am about HA topics, about the idea of almost manifesting your future child, because I know it's been my experience, and also what I've seen other women in our communities experience as well, is that as soon as they shift their perception to this is all going to be so hard, it's impossible for me, I want to be the unique person it doesn't happen to, and they can have the power to change their perspective and instead go, no, I will, watch me almost. Their whole world changes and everything falls into alignment, and the most special and magical things happen. So super passionate and excited about this topic today.
Yeah, and it sounds like shifting from victimhood to empowerment. And personally speaking, I really struggled for approximately 5 years having my first child. And my narrative always was, it's so difficult. I have so many diagnoses. I don't know where to start from. I'm damaged. I'm broken. I cannot handle it. It's my fault. And then I was lucky enough to finally get pregnant with the support of many. And with my second child, I had already done the work, and I had already shifted my mindset. And we always call him the surprise because even though he was so wanted, we were not planning. It was not really expected, but there was a conversation in the back of my mind of I would like to be a mom of two. And that's what happened to me. So I'm really looking forward to dive into this topic. So can you tell us, what does it mean that your baby is a thought away? So how can you make women understand what you mean by that?
Yes, I guess a bit of another mantra or quote that goes alongside it is, if your mind can conceive it, your body can achieve it. And I actually had a chat with one of our ladies this morning, and it was something that stuck with me when I was a child. I remember when I was an elite gymnast, national gymnast, not elite gymnast. I would have this practice where I couldn't quite do a skill physically yet, so I would rehearse it in my mind over and over and over again. And I had no idea that this was actually a form of meditation practice. And then everything would come true. Right? As soon as I could do it in my mind, I could do it in reality. And cutting that long story short, when I ended up in my HA recovery space, I found myself at the start being like, why is this happening to me? This sucks. Like, poor me. Everything's so hard. It's easy for everybody else. And one minute I just kind of clicked and went, hang on, I'm making this harder for myself by believing this has to be the hardest thing ever. This has to be the most, gritting my teeth every day. It needs to be grueling and awful and against my will. When the reality was I wasn't doing anything against my will. I actually wanted to have a baby. I wanted to get my period back. I wanted to create a new reality. And as soon as that penny dropped, I started thinking, well, if all I'm thinking about is how hard everything is, what if I start thinking about how great my future looks? And then all of my thoughts and perceptions started to shift. It's not obviously like a overnight thing, but my perspective changed. And I remember a mantra that I used to always use is, I'm happy, healthy, and fertile. I'm happy, I'm healthy, I'm fertile. And then I got my period back. And then I got my period back. I'm like, I'm happy, healthy, and I'm fertile, as passionate word. And I don't normally swear, but I felt like in the context it was such a good thing. And surely enough, everything started to change. I felt more willing to make changes. I felt belief in myself that my body could do these things. I trusted destiny, or my future was literally knocking on my door. And as you know, Claudia, and a lot of the podcast listeners, I fell pregnant with Casima after 3 bleeds, and the baby I'm pregnant with now, I had a chemical pregnancy, and then I took a month of I don't want to do baby talk, and then I was pregnant the following time. And I know obviously genetics plays a part in it, but I believe also a big part of it is I trusted so much it was coming that my body just went, oh, okay, I know what we're doing, and it followed.
And I love what you said, especially because this type of visualization is also used by Olympic athletes, like, for example, Michael Phelps. Before jumping in the pool, he was always visualizing the race, and he won so many times. And reminding yourself that you are fertile, that you can have a baby. I'm not saying that a thought can actually make anyone pregnant, because there are a few steps that are involved in making sure that someone gets pregnant. But first of all, which is something that I said to one of our beautiful clients this morning, is that you cannot stop smoking if you are not aware that you are smoking. I mean, first of all, you have to identify the negative thoughts, the underlying thoughts that is always playing in the background, because maybe you're in a position where you want to have a baby and you keep telling yourself, but I'm infertile, and you spend most of the time checking a group for infertility on Facebook or on Instagram and so on and so forth. So your brain is getting that message reinforced. So once you identify the negative message, then you can actually modulate it and transform it in something that it's more empowering, like you did. And it worked for you, for so many women. And now there is actually science is backing us up in terms of how changing our narrative and using visualization can shape how our brain and our body responds in general. And also, if you tell yourself that you're fertile, there are more chances that you act as if you are fertile.
Yes.
Yeah. So can you actually tell us more about how having that thought of being fertile can shape other thoughts, the feelings, and our behaviors around it?
Yeah, I love that question. And I'm actually going to ask you to share your experience with it as well once I answer. But it's important for us to identify if there's an issue, right? Like when we enter HA recovery, we go, perhaps, okay, I have HA, I have an eating disorder, I have disordered eating behaviors. But there is a time and a place where perhaps we're taking too much ownership of that and seeing that as our forever after, instead of going, oh, okay, I've recognized a red flag here. Now I'm going to work on becoming the next chapter of myself. And I don't need to carry this with me all the time. Because sometimes when we've got I have an eating disorder, I have HA, it's a weird space where sometimes it gives us permission to stay the same, because it's like it is who I am. And the reality is it's something you're experiencing, right? It's not who you are forever. It's not who you're going to be. It's not what should lead your choices. It should be the red flag that goes, oh, I need to change direction. I need to slip lanes. And when you can start to see yourself as your fertile self, often, like if anyone's listening right now, if you were to close your eyes and think of your present reality right now, there's a certain perhaps heaviness to it, or insecurity or harshness. But if you can just take a minute to breathe and think of yourself as fertile, it's almost like a lightness comes about you. It's like almost like a goddess trying to be awoken. And that lightness is what's going to encourage you to make decisions like having breakfast a little bit earlier, taking a rest day. And it it's not grand gestures, but it's more and making changes and feeling at peace with it, because you know it's linked to your future self, instead of feeling like willpower is being used all the time. Like I have to, I must. Instead, it's like I choose to. This is bringing my baby one step closer to me. I'm a day closer to my period because of this choice. And I don't know if you like, even if you pay attention to just how statements sound, you start to smile about it. You start to relax your shoulders. It feels in alignment with what you want, and therefore you can lean into it so much better. What was your experience with changing perspectives and perhaps the level of ease that come with making changes?
First of all, I would like to say that something that you just mentioned is very key. The lightness that you feel once you remind yourself that you're fertile and that you feel empowered to make the choices that you want to make, because it takes you away from a place of, oh, I have HA, what if I recover and it's not going to be enough? What if I recover and something else is going to pop up? What if I recover and it's not going to work anyway? If you start telling yourself that the truth, the real truth, that you are fertile, that you can definitely recover, that you can feel great, and you're honoring the body for where it is at, and that you are making choices in terms of how to move forward, life becomes that much easier, the 100% much easier. So I really would like to thank you for sharing that thought. And I absolutely agree with what you said, because once I, for example, told myself I am recovering, which then to transform to I am recovered, which is a topic of conversation on its own. What's the difference between recovery and recovered? I embraced the changes. They were not forceful. It wasn't something that I had to do, because otherwise I wouldn't get my period back. I would wake up in the morning, wait before having coffee. I would have breakfast. I started a new routine that it was incredibly beneficial for many different areas of my life, not to mention my sex drive, which was really important considering that I wanted to have a baby. My overall energy level, because I could have not had a small baby with that amount of energy. And the decrease in anxiety, like imagining to have a baby when I was already suffering from life-changing anxiety on a weekly basis would have been the recipe for a disaster. So in hindsight, I look back at my body and I think, oh, wow, thank you for protecting me from something that could have ended up very badly. Obviously, I didn't know that back at that time. There was some sadness and some resistance, but changing the way that I was speaking to myself really, it was a game changer, simply a game changer.
And resistance is such a perfect word too, because speaking to what you said earlier was, if we don't have faith in the outcome, why would you want to change, right? And you can relate it back to the first time you decide you want to lose weight, right? You believe that if you eat the salad, go for the run, lift 5 times a week, fast, do whatever it is you can do, you believe that you're going to lose the weight, you're going to look a particular way, you're going to become shredded, you're going, like whatever that goal is. But the only reason you went down that path was because something flipped in your head that I can and I will. And then you did it. But if you didn't believe that you could lose weight, you wouldn't have, like, you would have had that resistance. Oh, why do I have to do this? And why do I have to go? Yeah. So using our past as a superpower, we can go, well, what things have come to fruition for me when I trusted they were coming? And that could be your career, your education, your husband, your dream home. It could be anything at all. But if you start to do a bit of an audit on your life, I go, well, how many things have actually turned out the way I really, really wanted them to do, that led with a belief first? And it'll be a pretty good success rate. And if you think about how many things worked out for you that were led by fear, it's not such a good success rate, because if we're afraid of it, why do we want to do it? Right?
Yeah, sorry if I interrupted you, but I had an analogy that really came to mind. I remember that when I started my business, I had this great resistance towards a newsletter. I didn't know how to approach the system. Every single time that I put my password in and I would see like the system where I had to input my newsletter, I would freeze, thinking this is difficult, I cannot do it. Maybe I can hire someone else to do it for me. And then one day I started thinking, this is easy. I can figure it out. And
yes,
then
but even the words, you didn't expect that you could do it straight away.
No.
You just, instead of going, oh my God, what is this? You just went, I got this. Let's just chip away. I'll click the button. I'll write some text. I've got this. And now you're a newsletter guru. I love your newsletters.
Thank you for checking them, by the way. But yeah, also sometimes we do encourage women, actually, we do encourage women to do two things, especially at the beginning of recovery, but also throughout the recovery journey. One is understanding the whys, like losing weight. Why are you doing it? What is going to bring you anyway? And the same thing with getting the period back. Why do you want it? What is going to bring into your life? And it could be a baby or could be something else. And the second thing is actually changing the language and try and say, this is easy. Like getting my period back, looking at my body changing can be easy. And
Yeah,
it
and
is
trusting that
difficult
like our
simply.
bodies are made to do it. Like at their core, they actually want to have a cycle. They wanted their children. And I know that's something
Yes.
that really comforted me. And during my HA, it was like interesting because I felt so far from a woman, right? Because I didn't have a period. It's like I'm this other construct. And it doesn't fit with female, it doesn't fit with male, but I definitely don't feel feminine. But then at some point in the journey, I started going, no, my body wants this so badly, right? Like it is craving this. All I need to do is create the environment and my body will flourish. Like literally plant a seed, water it, it's going to grow. And then if you look at our journeys in Oberlin that we've spoken to and worked with, it's much the same. It's like we need to set the environment for our body to flourish, and it'll take the reins. It'll just go, thank you. You just need to create it first. And just to the point of what you're saying about the period and fertility side of things too, and I'm definitely going to get your input on it, is how often we hear women say, I want to get my period back, but they're already thinking about not falling pregnant. Like there's a complete misalignment in goal, which is really confusing to our mind. Because if you look at our mind as though a genie saying your wish is my command, and you're going, oh, but we want a period, but we can't fall pregnant. But if you can't fall pregnant, maybe you don't have a period. It's just a mush. So instead it's like, well, I'm going to get my period back. It's coming because I'm doing da 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 da. And then once I get my period back, I'm so excited to fall pregnant. It doesn't have to be, I'm going to do it in a heartbeat. It's just, I'm excited for it to happen. It's coming. But do you often hear the conversation with the women, Claudia, that there's a misstep in the goal? It's like the period hasn't come and already I'm failing at baby making. Like, oh, let's just get the period and then let's approach the baby.
Yeah, and that's normally something that I notice at the beginning when they join the community and the period comeback protocol. There is that resistance. I've been trying for so many months, for so many years, and nothing has changed. I don't even think that this time can actually change, but they don't know what we do, which is normally work. And then I tend to see it towards the end when when the impatience kicks in, and maybe the period comes, and women tend to think about the next goal. Okay, but I got my first period. Where is my second period? Why isn't it there already?
On day one of the first bleed in months, years.
Oh, yeah.
And we're guilty. We're not like picking guilty. We've done it ourselves. But...
Oh, I remember when I got my first period, there was like, I saw the blood and I was so excited. 10 minutes later, I was already thinking about period number 2. And then I learned to simply honor my body and enjoy my periods whenever they come, because they're all very special to me, even after a decade anyway. But yeah, what you're saying is absolutely correct. There is that resistance, there is that impatience, and it's all about supporting those women through their journey, depending on where they're at. And that's also why what we do, and that's also why what we do is so customized, because there is no cookie cutter approach, right? We all come with a different baggage, with a different story. And maybe some of these women that come to us after 12 years without a period, and they are really in a place of not trusting their body, not trusting that they can be better. And for them, it's more about rekindling the relationship with themselves, with their body. And then the period is going to come, because there is going to be this beautiful domino effect. And you've just interviewed one of our ex-age community members, the lovely Beth, that she's going to be on one of these live very soon. she went from a place of distrust, not liking herself, not liking her life, not liking her body, to liking herself, changing her career, getting the period back, to then change her relationship as well. And she was just showing to everyone what it really means to recover from HA, which is basically healing the relationship with yourself.
Yeah, and if you think about it like someone you're dating, because I think there can be that sense of urgency, like you decide you want to recover, so it has to happen now. And if you think about the disconnect we've got from our mind and our body when we first decide to change or to heal, it's almost like you've been in a relationship with someone who overworks you, potentially starves you, underestimates your capacity, overlooks your fatigue. It's not really someone you'd want to date. So just because you decide to make a few good actions over 3 days doesn't mean they're going to be like, marry me, right? It's like, oh, okay, you've been kind to me for 3 days, but we've had a bit of a history of you being a bit abusive. And if you can look at the healing journey as a relationship, it's like every day you're trying to make peace with this and be like, I can treat you differently. You know, we're meant to be together. And I think that can also bring some lightness to the experience, because instead of being so harsh, like, hey, I treated you well today, like, give me something. It's like, all right, we're one step closer to that partnership that we're looking for. And I'm going to keep working on it until you trust me. And then by the time that unity happens, you really feel at peace with it, because you've worked together on that mind-body plane.
Okay, so one last thing that I would like to ask you, Jade, before I let you go, because I know that the two of us can talk about this topic for the next possibly 90 minutes, easy. If there was a woman listening to this live or the replay of this live and they wanted to start thinking different thoughts, where would it be the step one from your point of view? Where could they start from?
Saying I can heal, I can make change, I can live a better life, I can be a mother. Because as soon as you address the fact that you can do something, instantly curiosity is going to start coming in. So it's like, well, if I can do it, what does that look like for me? Because we all know everyone takes a different approach. So if you're like completely on the fence of this whole HA recovery thing, is it worth, is it not? I would encourage you just to entertain the idea of, I can do it. And if I wasn't afraid of failure, how much would I actually want?
Love that. Love that. And it's something so simple. Say, I can, and look at the environment with curiosity and see which kind of messages you start to receive. Because the more that you say that you can't, your brain is going to scan the environment and it's going to pick up, it's going to pick up what you don't need at the moment. And as soon as you say you can, magic is going to happen.
Absolutely.
So for all of you listening, Jade and I are opening our doors again in October to take 3 more beautiful women. So if you're called to join the HA community and you would like to learn more about how to get your period back, support your fertility, and obviously changing your mindset with our master mindset coach, Jade, please just make sure to get in touch with us. And for now, thank you, Jade. We will have you in here soon. And see you next time.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.